Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2022 Memorial Championship presented by Discraft. Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, here with a second feature card. We're bringing you so much action this week. It's going to be hard to keep up, but please come along for the ride. Like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube things. We are here with this great feature card, and Adam Hammes has the honors after 9 holes. Pretty solid front 9, 5 under, 6 under, respectively, for him and Anthony Barela. And that's a pretty solid shot. If you've been around for a decade or more, you've seen probably 3 or 4 different variations of hole 10 here. If you have a forehand, this is the easiest variation. Linus Carlsson out of Sweden. As much as you guys might be begging for some accents, whether it's Norwegian or Swedish, yeah, you're not going to get them. I embarrass myself in plenty of other ways. Here's Peter Lunde. He comes from Norway. Quick story about Peter. After spending a long weekend of very competitive golf at the PCS Sula Open a couple of years ago, there was an after event gathering as he picks up the birdie. And at one point, very late into the evening, I see him with a tiny notebook, and he's just jotting things down, and it's just his journal. And apparently the time and place was striking enough for him to put some thoughts onto paper. And just an incredible gentleman and one of Norway's top players, great ambassador for the sport. And these guys are just making it look a little bit too easy. Hole 10, that's a star frame. Okay. Well, if you say so. I'm not sure if I was a player I would say that. I feel like you're, I don't know, you're messing with the disc gods when you're making that claim. I could do it. I'm not throwing any Frisbees this week. 368, hole 11. And I'm going to date myself with this statement, I know. I'm in my early 40s. I've been involved with disc golf for a little over 20-some years, but watching players so effortlessly throw a forehand on a 368-foot shot like this, I feel like this is something that we've only seen really become a thing in the last 5 to 10 years. Forehands have been around forever. I'm not an idiot. But to see them done so effortlessly just says so much about our game and the competitors that are showing up. That's leaking left, but checks up just outside the circle. They have about 34 feet for the putt. Pulls over to the right side. And sometimes being that distance away isn't necessarily a terrible thing because it essentially has made the decision for you. He's just going to lay that up. When you're in a position like this is where it can get dicey. And it stays resting up against the goalpost there. Amos easily picks up the birdie. He's going to move to 7 under. And an effortless AB goes to 8 under.
So they've trying to pair the black Prestos.
You see Peter just 2, maybe 2.5 meters away, and still having to concentrate because of the one tree that's directly in his way. They're moving over to the short downhill hole number 12, 293 feet. Plays probably closer to 250 or 260. Sometimes we'll see the low line shot like this, and that has just the right amount of speed. Other times you'll see someone go with a high spiking hyzer, trying to get it just to come down on edge and spike into the ground. And it looks like, yeah, that is certainly the play here by AB. Hanging it way out around that palm. The key here is to not throw that shot flat at all. Throwing a putter or a mid-range a little bit flat coming in, it's probably going to check up, slow down very quickly. But if you throw something sharp-edged and you get it flat, there's a good chance it's going to hit near the basket and then skip all the way OB onto or over the sidewalk. So if you're going sharp, you really want to put it at a very steep angle. It sure does look perfect. That's a tap in. Making that look very easy. Hole 12 certainly going to be one of the easiest holes on the course. I don't even have to check the stats. I could just make that assumption. Comes in as the 5th easiest hole. Averaged 2.54 on the day. Jeez, Peter, you don't have to be so aggressive. Big thanks to Resistance Disc. And the man in charge of Resistance is right there behind the tee, Jeff Corns, as he sponsors Adam and a number of other players. Oh, just flashing past the basket, almost ringing it up. I'll ask if you guys had a disc moving, I'll give it any speed or on any angle, moving toward a target, as that one almost skips up and in. What target would you like to be there trying to catch your disc? When you're thinking about specifically an ace. I know everyone has their preferences for putting and for baskets that they like, but if you're throwing a disc hard on a drive, I want to know what basket are you hoping you're throwing at in terms of it catching. Put that in the comments. Maybe I could get a basket manufacturer to give away a super special prize, portable basket. I like that idea. Couple more tap-ins, and Kind of looks like a couple of star frames. Oh, a little bit low. I didn't want. No, you can never count them too early. Never count your birdies before they're on the scorecard. Big thanks to all my Patreon subscribers. As I mentioned earlier in the front nine, I'm going to have special giveaways that are just relative to my Patreon subscribers. When you like, share, comment, you're automatically eligible for some of the giveaways. But then I'm going to have additional giveaways just for the people that are supporting me through the Patreon platform. The link's in the description below. Here's AB after we saw a pretty good looking shot by Adam. Adam was a little long. AB that needs to stop. And that checks up short of the out of bounds. So he'll have an uphill look. We'll have to see if the tree branches are hanging in his view for the birdie putt. That needs to be wider. No, and it catches the grass. The sidewalk is what's out of bounds, so clearly once you've got to the sidewalk or beyond, you can go out of bounds. And that actually, I think, found the water. So I think there was a patron out there that was able to hopefully stop that, or retrieve it, I should say. Almost saves the par, but just a bit off the mark. And similar look here for AB. I feel like some trimming's been done on that tree. It always seemed like that hung a little bit lower. Either way, AB's looking at a par at best. Peter looks like he's doing his Disc Golf Strong workout there. Trying to find the best line. And I know it's talked about every single time you play this hole, whether it's that electrical box or it's this three-legged tree. This is finally the angle that he's going to take. Peter representing Norway. Let's see if he can complete the challenge. Oh, that's solid. Great putt. So, although we've seen him with some struggles out on the peninsula holes, he's now 3 under. We'll see what he can salvage of this round. Ooh. Little light, but in. Pair of birdies, a par, and a bogey. Standard score separation that you'd expect to see on 14. See Sandy Point Resort and Disc Golf Ranch, Mike, Michelle Cousins, up in northern Wisconsin, and just minutes away from where Adam Hammis grew up and frequently played, and still plays anytime he goes home. So make sure you check them out, sandypt.com. Adam has never had a problem with technical, tight, wooded shots. Sandy Point is exactly that style of course, so I guess we could thank Sandy Point for all of his honing and shot shaping.
Good shot. Thank you.
That's a beautiful shot inside the circle. Less than 20 feet for birdie. AB's pulled that high and wide. Perfectly safe, but he had a lot of room on the left to work with still. So AB will have probably a 50, maybe 60 footer.
Give it to him.
And I'd love to say that's a great shot, and it is. It's probably about circle's edge, but we'll have to see if that tree comes into play. AB has a wide open look, which can be really tough to get depending on the angle that you come in here on hole number 15.
Such an easy hole.
Okay, Ella?
Yep.
Love to insert a little rules or pro tip from time to time. First, we're going to see Linus. Pass. Off the tree. That could be the pro tip, but really what I was going to say is anytime you're uncertain about your lie or your footing, as Adam taps in for the birdie, anytime you think you might be close to a stance or a rule violation, always just ask the group ahead of time rather than, potentially have an infraction or have something called against you. In a case like that, he was just asking if his footwork was okay and if he had the right angle and distance and position. So keep that in mind anytime in the future. Just ask your card ahead of time if your footing looks legal. That's exactly what he was doing in a language I don't speak. So pretty impressive. 3 birdies on hole number 16. Correction, hole 15.
Sit. We're going. Cool.
Adam's not asking too much for it just to jump in. Hole 16, the second easiest hole on the course.
Check it.
Relative to par. Wow, this played at 0.58 below par. There's a double mandatory, which means they have to throw to the left of that first tree that you just saw with the tape on it and to the right of the other tree up ahead. So it's essentially forcing the righty backhand or some variation of that. And part of the reason for that mandatory is so that players don't throw to the left where they see the previous fairway. And this is a little beauty shot. The fountain going off yet again. It's been an hour since they were over there on holes 8. And they don't pay me to say this, but Euro Pizza is the place to go. Every single competitor will tell you after the round, if you've got time, just off the green of 18, head over to Euro Pizza. Count it. Barela, 11 under through 16. Officially at that mark that we spoke of at the beginning of the round. We saw a few of the hotter scores that came in, and 11 under seemed to be the clubhouse lead. And just getting that to stay in, pushing to 7 under. And Adam moves to 12 under. And Peter has quietly picked up a little bit of a birdie streak. Here we are, hole 17, just 2 left to play in our opening round. 468 feet, plays a little less than that downhill. There is OB really deep of the basket. He'd have to go another probably 40 or 50 feet. That would have had to carry. It's more common to see players release a little early and go OB short and left. Not usually long of the pin. Most people don't have that problem. And Peter's got no problems picking up another birdie, it looks like.
Thank you.
Nice shot. And I don't know if we've explicitly stated it, but our competitors will play 2 rounds here. They'll play rounds 1 and 2. And then for rounds 3 and 4, they'll head a little bit closer to the Mesa, Scottsdale, Tempe area, where they will play the Vista del Camino, the Shelley Sharp course, for rounds 3 and 4. So back-to-back rounds here and then back-to-back rounds at Vista. Beautiful shot by Barela. So Adam, who's at 12, trying to get to 13, he's got a long look. We know how deadly he can be from circle 2, circle 3, really pretty much anywhere. Just a touch light. Oh. I was going to say, are we going to have to call for another bank shot? Oh, his hamstrings. Looks like that hurt just sitting there. It's incredible. Just a few feet over is where Barela is, and he'll have a straight-on putt. That tree won't come into play, but just like back on 11, the two-headed tree that provides so much challenge when it doesn't feel like it should. Barela moves to 12 under. Currently, Barela and Hammes with the hottest rounds.
Nice, Peter.
With just 1 hole left to play. As the sun continues to set, we're going to move over to hole number 18. I'm not excited just because it's 1 step or 400 steps closer to Euro Pizza, but and just so you know, it's the calzone. You have to get the calzones when you're there. They're like no other. And Peter, who's been on a tear, parks his final drive of the round. I think if I do some math, that's like 6 or 7 birdies in a row to close out his round. I mean, we're going to go ahead and count that. He's right next to the pin. Sit down. Sit. Oh, and how does that roll in? And then, insult to injury, flips on its head and starts to drift off. And you can see by the flag there, a little bit of a headwind, which is somewhat common. Not only are you dealing with the headwind on this shot often, but also you're usually throwing right into the sun. Oh, and it skips off the water. And it's going to find inbounds just barely, and that's going to be a circle 2 look for the birdie. Linus playing high and wide. And just outside the circle, looking downhill. Sitting at 7 under. 7 under is not going to win you any awards out here. All right, all right. 8 under. A little bit better. And you see what his card mates are sitting at. Adam's got a chance to get to 13 with this putt. Footing can be a little bit awkward, even though it's, you know, I was going to say rock. It's more of a concrete, gunite, whatever. it's usually uneven. Solid, but uneven. And Adam's going to wait a moment for some kind of distraction. There's a sidewalk just about at his 11 o'clock that kind of walks directly across his vision. And it sits down. Okay, those have a high potential to get up and roll, sometimes even all the way to the water. And AB, although went out of bounds, is just about pin high. So this is to save the par. We've seen a couple of those today. Adam, I think back to him on hole number 3, making a long putt just to save the par after the OB. And AB does just that. So let me know in the comments any of the other silly questions I might have asked you. But also I'm thinking about, what do you guys think of 12 under? Is that a score that seems realistic? Do you feel like that's a hot score? We know there's been some good ones out there. If you don't want to see where the overall scores are for any of the other coverage, you need to shut it off now because I'm going to show you those. But I want to thank you for joining. Thank all of the supporters, the sponsors, the tournament staff and directors, and anyone that's watching. Like, share, subscribe. You got 2 rounds of MPO coverage in the first round. We're glad to do it. We'll see how the rest of the weekend shakes out. We're going to bring you plenty of coverage. Stay tuned right here to the Disc Golf Guy channel on YouTube. We'll see you tomorrow.